Hey guys, it's Ashley with AMJTutorials. It's been a while, but I'm back. Today we will create this image and we will apply it to a t-shirt. That's something that I've never done, so again, bear with me. I don't have the best camera or a microphone, but we're going to try it. And so we're going to create this image and we're going to apply it to a t-shirt. And when I was walking through all the steps of this video, it does seem very hard and like you'll never remember these steps by yourself, but I can already hear my mom saying like she'll never understand Inkscape. But just like I tell her, the more you do it, I'm serious, it becomes second nature. So I hope you learn something new and enjoy. So to start out, what I did is I went to defont.com and downloaded Vintage Party Font. I will put a link in the comment in my description below if you need to know how to download and install fonts, because I made a video on that, so I won't go through it. But so I downloaded Vintage Party on defonts.com. And again, I'm going to say that this is for personal use. If you're going to try to sell, check with the creator of the font to make sure that you can use that in your image. Okay, so first step is we're going to get our text over here on the left. And since my last video, Inkscape has updated their program, so it does look a little bit different, but everything is still kind of the same. So we're going to click on the left A for text. We're going to write spooky vibes. Okay, and then now we're going to highlight spooky. Go up here on our top left, double click on that, and type in Vintage Party for our font. Change it. I'm going to do the same for vibes. Vintage Party. Okay, we're going to convert these into paths, so object to path, ungroup, and path union. Same for vibes, path, object to path, object, ungroup, path, union. Okay, you can double check this. There are nodes there, so your Cricut is going to acknowledge that these can be cut. What we're going to do is I want this text to be a little thicker, and I use this tool a lot in when I'm designing different things. So you're going to go up here to path, and do you see down here and it says outset? It's pretty, self-explanatory. It's going to outset the text. And so there's two different options, and I'm going to show you the first one, and it's not going to work, but I'm going to show you if you run into this. This is the one that I like to use when it works the best because it's easy. Okay, outset. So I use the shortcut keys, the control and the parentheses up there on the 0 key. So I've got my text selected, and on my keyboard I just hit control and the 0 key. And you're going to see how it takes it and makes it thicker. But do you notice that it's too thick? Some texts work great and some texts don't work good at all. So, and that was me hitting the control and the 9 button to inset it to make it thinner. Okay, so that didn't work. So I can hit Control Z to undo all of my actions to get me back to the beginning. We're going to use the other one, which is the dynamic offset. And I'm going to click it, and I'm going to double click the text that I'm wanting to offset. And you'll see this little diamond. Let me get closer. You can see this little diamond, this white diamond up here. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to drag it to how thick I want it. I still want the O's to have, you know, the openings, so I think that looks good. I'm going to stop, and then I'm going to go back up here to Path and union it back. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing for Vibes. Make sure you're selected on it. Go up here to Path, Dynamic Offset, double click, and take that triangle and move it to your likings. I just want it thicker. Okay? And now I'm going to Path, Union. Alright, now I'm going to position the text where I want it. So, this down here. And then I'm going to rotate this, rotate the vibe. So I'm going to click on it. I'm going to click on it again. Gives you the arrows where you can rotate. I'm just going to rotate it up. Okay, and I think that looks good. Now I'm going to click both text by clicking Spooky and Shift, holding Shift on my keyboard and clicking Vibes. So I've selected both. I'm going to go up to Path, and I'm going to union those. Now, to create the outline behind the Spooky that you see, the black outline that you see, I'm going to take selected on Spooky Vibes, and I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to click on my keyboard, I'm going to hit Control D, and I've duplicated it. And I'm going to change that color just for the time being so I know what I'm working with. I'm going to send it to the back, and I'm going to offset it again. And I'm going to try doing the offset that I like. It's the simple easy one, which is Control and the 0 keyboard, and we're just going to try to offset it. Okay, it looks pretty good. It looks like it's going pretty good, but I need it to be thicker to fill in more. And as you can see, certain fonts will get really wonky there on the side. It looks good here on the left side, but there on the right it gets really wonky. Sometimes I just deal with it and I'll go and clean that all up, but that's too much to clean up. So I can't do it that way. So I'm going to Control Z back to the original, and it's behind the black text. So I'm going to click on my black text, and I'm going to page down on my keyboard to send that down so I can work with this one. Okay, so I'm clicked on it. I'm going to go up to Path, and I'm going to do just the dynamic offset. So I did that. I'm going to double click this to get my little white triangle to pop up, and then I'm going to manually offset it myself. And again, this is going to be just a judge. And you're just rolling your mouse like either left or right. And I think that looks good. And then I'm going to Path, Union. Okay? Now, when you union it, and it shows you where all your little nodes are, and again, we know that the nodes are where our Cricut's going to cut. Well, all these random little nodes right here I do not want. So I'm going to highlight them by clicking my mouse and dragging a box over the nodes I don't want and hitting the delete button on my keyboard. Okay? I don't want any of these nodes. I want it to be clean. Now, let's send it to the back and make sure that we've got everything. And I need it to be offset a little more. So, dynamic offset, double click, and that looks good. Path, union. Okay. See, we want this to be completely filled, this to be completely filled, and this to be completely filled. So we can highlight those and delete them. Highlight those and delete it. And then you can see that these nodes up here are being silly. You get closer by pressing the plus button on your keyboard. You can tell that you can just get rid of those little nodes. Okay, let's path union that. Okay, so now we have spooky and vibes, and we've got our background, our offset background. And you can see on this image that the spooky and the vibes are see-through. Like when you put it on a shirt, you're going to see the shirt underneath. So to get that, we're going to select spooky and the background, both of them together, and we're going to path difference. Okay? Change that to black down there on the bottom left. And you can see that now it is see-through. Okay. Now to get the pumpkin, I'm just going to go to Google, typed in pumpkin clip art silhouette, and then I found this one. Clicked on it. You're going to second click, copy image, and then you're going to go back to Inkscape, second clip, paste image. Okay, we're going to go up here to path, trace bitmap. Make sure you're on multicolor. Under the drop box, you're going to hit colors. You're going to make sure that your scan is 2 and that you've removed the background. We're going to apply it. This we know is the image, and this we know is our path, means that it says down here at the bottom, it says path that I'm selected on. We want this one, and we can delete the image. Okay. Click our nodes. This is good. We do not want these nodes down here, so I'm going to click on the screen and draw a box around the nodes I don't want and click delete on my keyboard. Okay, I'm going to change the pumpkin to a different color so I know what I want. Okay, so I want this pumpkin. You can see this is one image. This is the image this is our goal image over here. You can see that the pumpkin is that's all one image, and it's cut out. Okay, and you see the little outline that it has following the text cut out with that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to duplicate the spooky vibes. Okay, we're going to break apart by going to path, break apart spooky vibes, and union this all together, because we're basically wanting to cut this pumpkin out of this shape. We're going to difference it and we're going to cut it out of this shape. So we don't want, I can show you, we don't want when we put the pumpkin back here, page down, if we cut it out with just the Spooky Vibes, it would have cut out the S and everything. We want a solid shape to cut out. Okay? And I am going to lower the opacity on this so I can see below where I'm positioning the pumpkin. So I'm going to hit Control-Shift-F to bring up my opacity. I'm going to lower it down. Now I'm going to position my pumpkin. I'm going to make sure that it's in the back because that's what we want to cut, is the pumpkin. And I want the pumpkin, I'm going to size it to my liking. And I think that looks good. Okay, if I cut directly from right here, it's going to cut a clean image and the pumpkin's going to, I'll just show you. So I'd select the top image and the pumpkin and path difference. Okay, and the pumpkin sets directly on top of the Spooky Vibes. Well, we want a little space in between it. So to do that, I go back to my original. Here is my solid Spooky Vibes image, and we're going to offset, dynamic offset it just a tad bit so we'll get that gap. So go to Path, Dynamic Offset. We're going to double click it to get our little white triangle box and diamond box, and you can see in here I can show how big of a gap I want, and I just want, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and then let's path and union that and select it, and then so it's selected, and then we're going to select our pumpkin, and then we're going to go up to Path Difference, and there you see that it has the little space in between. Okay, let's change the pumpkin color to black because this is all going to be one solid image for me, or you can leave the pumpkin orange, but I'm going to path and I'm going to union both of those together so they don't move. It's one image. Our spider web. So I went to Google, I typed in spider web clip art. I got this spider web. I'm going to second click it, copy image, go to Inkscape, second click, paste image. I'm going to zoom out by using the minus key on my keyboard. I'm going to convert this by going to Path, Trace Bitmap, make sure it's on multicolor, drop down box colors, 2, we're only working with one color, remove background, and apply. Okay, I'm going to change the color just so I can see what I'm working with. I'm going to make it smaller. Put it in here. To get closer to that image, I'm going to press the number 3 key on my keyboard, zoom out with the minus key, and I'm going to place it in here like this. So I want a spider web coming out of here. Okay, I'm going to cut that out by selecting the spider web. Shift on my keyboard and selecting the pumpkin, or you can just select everything by drawing a box around it and then clicking path difference. See right here that little bitty mess up, and I can click on my image, go up here to the nodes on the left, and you can see that. If you get in there closer, hitting the plus button, you can draw a box around that and hit delete. Resize it by making it wider. Let's delete that one. Okay, so now we're going to save it as a plain SVG. So go up here on the top left, File, Save As. We're going to name this Spooky Vibes. Just replace it with mine. Drop down box, make sure you save it as a plain SVG and click Save. And I've already did this, so I'm going to replace it. Okay. Okay, now that we saved it, now we can go into Cricut and load it into Cricut. Okay, we are in Cricut. I'm going to go up here on the top right and click New Project. I'm going to go here on the left and I'm going to click Upload. I'm going to click up here and click Upload Image. And then I'm going to Browse. And this brought up a past project, so just make sure we saved it in our documents. And we called it Spooky Vibes. There it is. SVG. Open. Shows what it looks like. That's it. Upload it on the bottom right. And now it's in our uploads. So I'm going to click this because that's what I want to upload into it, and add to canvas on the bottom right. Okay, so here's my image. So here is whenever I take whatever product I'm applying it to and figure out the measurements of the product. Okay guys, I got just a normal ruler. Normally images start 3 inches below the collar, and I just go up here and do a rough measurement from neck to neck to see how big I want my image. My mat is only a 12 by 12 for Cricut, so I think like a 9 for an adult. This is an adult medium. I think a 9. I just judge it. A 9.5 wide will probably be good. 9.5 wide. So I'm going to go up here on my top to the width. Do you see the little lock box? I'm going to lock the proportions because when I click in that my width is 9.5, it's going to automatically do the height for me, what the height should be, to make it proportional. So I'm going to type in 9.5 and just see where it gets me, and it says 7.37. So I'm going to say 7.5 height, and then I go and look on my shirt to see if 7.5, if that image width and height looks proportional with my shirt size. So that image looks good. So I'm going to click Make It. You can see that the material type is in a matte. My matte size is a 12 by 12. And a mirrored image, and you can click this little eye, says you need to turn on the mirror for iron-on projects. So for a shirt or for any type of clothing or material, fabric, always click on mirror. And I can't tell you how many times that I forgot to click this, and you'd have to redo it. So it needs to be mirrored. Okay, so it'll look like this on your map. Whenever you're dealing with shirts and material, or you're putting any type of image on a piece of fabric, you're going to need heat transfer vinyl. So HTV vinyl. Just like it means, heat transferred vinyl. You're going to apply the image with heat, with a heat press. So you can get that at Michael's, Joann's, any type of craft store normally, Walmart, or I have a site, I'm sure there's plenty of other sites, but I order from 143 Vinyl. They have all colors, types, easy weed, glitter, stretch. You can just go to your local Walmart or Joann's or craft store and pick you up some there. Now I'm going to click continue down on the bottom right. It's going to connect my Cricut machine. Number one, it's going to tell me that it is set to iron on. That's what we want. It's going to tell you again to remind you to make sure that the mirror is on. And you can see on the left it says mirror on. It's turned on, and iron on material, which is our heat transferred vinyl, is face down. The shiny side is face down. Okay, here's my vinyl. You can see that it's shiny. We're going to face that down like it said. This is not. So we're going to put it on. Put it on our map. Make sure it's down. It's on my map. I'm going to load it in. And I'm going to click the light up. And then I'm going to click, when it's ready, it's going to light up on the Cricut button. Okay, it is done. You can see that this was a scrap piece of paper scrap piece of vinyl that I had, and I didn't have enough. I'm going to try to fix that later on, but here is the final result. And when you start to weed it, you're going to not to weed it on the shiny side, you're going to weed it on the side that it came out on the map. Cut around my image so I can save the excess vinyl. I cut the excess off, and now I'm going to go in here and I'm going to remove the outer first. Okay, so I removed the outer thing, and the next thing that I was going to tell you, that when you're working with HTV, heat transfer vinyl, when you start removing the vinyl, you don't need to be careful in a sense. Like, you could just rip it off and it normally always stays on. Now, normal vinyl that you're going to apply to a cup or something, that's whenever I'm real careful. I dislike working with vinyl, love working with heat transfer vinyl because it's so easy to weed. Okay, next is where you got to think about the image that you created. Our image that we created, remember the letters, we are going to weed out the in between, because the shirt's going to show through in between. So next I'm going to remove the letters. Okay, before I heat press my image on, I normally will just heat up my shirt first. So I just put my shirt underneath the heat press. I'll press it, I'll close it, press it for a tad bit, bring it out, and then I will apply my design. I normally readjust it a couple times, just holding it up and look, make sure it's center. I know there's technical tools out there that you can use to get it positioned right. I just eyeball mine because mine's normally for my kids or me. I have this heat press. I'm not sponsored in any way, so do your own research, read your own reviews, but I'm just letting you know, this is I just have a cheap, probably one of the cheapest heat press there is, and it's not very big, but it's done the job for me. This is the heat press I use. I do have these Teflon sheets. I told you that you need the Teflon sheets to protect your image and your heat press. So I put the Teflon sheet underneath. My heat press is set for 375 temp. I have medium pressure. I'm going to put it down and I'm going to start my time for 15 seconds. And here is the final result. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tune in next Wednesday. Thank you so much for all the support. Happy creating.